Good evening, everyone. So, I will be continuing with our playlist, neurology, and this is a topic which it should be known by each and everyone, even an MBBS student also. This is why because people will be coming with the back pain, people will be coming with a vague symptom, radiating pain or any of Lermit phenomenon. So this should be known by each and everyone so that we could just, by examination, you could keep a check on the level. What is the level? Is it really a cervical? Is it really a thoracic? Is it lumbar? It is sacral. Now, people will come with musculoskeletal pain also. There would be osteomyelitis. There could be a malignancy. So how do we differentiate on this? So there are various topics and various differential to this. And one of the thing is spondylosis, which is very much common, intervertebral disc prolapse, myelopathy. So this should be known by each and every physician, whether he is a neurologist, whether he is just a physician, whether he is a MBBS, everyone. Okay, so today I'll be starting with the spinal cord. Now, this is a topic which needs certain introduction. We have just missed here and there some points, and we need a recall what is a spinal cord and how it works and everything. So, this would be a basic one, and I will be continuing it with its part piece by piece. So let's start with a certain introduction for the spinal cord. Now, spinal cord is 45 centimeter long. Okay, nothing new in that. This is the something which is the extension. So when we talk about the extension, it is something of somewhere around L1. Okay, so yeah, then the dura and the arachnoid, this is up to the level of S2, which would be expected. And when it comes to the spinal cord structure, now this is very important because in finals of the medicine, this could be a long question. It was a long question for me as well, and they did say to draw a diagram and then you have to explain why there is a myelopathy and why there is not, like that. There was certain question like that. Okay, so spinal cord ends at the level of the L1, and there is a spia which would be forming a final phylum terminal. Then the dural sac which extends up to the S2. So dura and the arachnoid which are up to the S2 level. So this is one of the MCQ. Okay, these both are the MCQs. Okay, when we come to the lowermost portion, it is the conus, and just above the conus is the epiconus. So when it comes to the epiconus, it is the L4, L5, S1, S2, and the conus it is S3, S4, S5 coccyx. Okay, so now chorda, these are the structures which are coming down from the L1. Now, upper cervical vertebrae corresponds to the same segment. This is a quite confusing topic. Let's just quickly check on this so that once and for all we just vanish all the confusion. Now, upper cervical vertebrae is to the same segment. Okay. Lower cervical vertebrae we have to add 1. Okay. Then upper thoracic, that is the T1 to T6, we have to add 2. This is why, because the all the segment will be coming like that. Okay, so we need to have a level. Okay, then we have the T7 to T9, we have to add 3. At that level of the T10, L1, L2, T11, it is the L3, L4, which is corresponding. Then T12, it is the L5, and L1, it is the sacrum and the coccyx, and the L2, it is the chorda equina. So while presenting the case, you have, when you have to tell the provisional diagnosis, you have to say the diagnosis itself. Then you have to say it is at the level of the T10, that is the umbilicus level. Okay, so you have to say it is a T10 corresponding to L1 and L2. This is important. Okay, so this has to be set. Then this is the structure. This is the posterior and this is the anterior horn. Okay, then we will be talking about the structure. This is the anterior one and this is the posterior one. So posterior column and the anterior one, which is the motor. This is the lateral part. These are the spinothalamic tract. This is the spinocerebellar. Okay. When we talk about the motor system, it has a medially and laterally crossed corticospinal tract and rubrospinal tract. And medially we have certain reticulospinal, tectospinal, vestibulospinal, okay, olivospinal. So these are the certain tracts. Then, if you're talking about the rubrospinal tract, it is a red nucleus which is in the midbrain, which through the upper limb there will be a flexion which will be caused by the rubrospinal tract. Okay, so now when you talk about the famous decorticate and decerebrate region, I know this topic is not very clear to many of them. So it is the rubrospinal tract which will be causing this decorticate and decerebrate. We will see how. Now, with the if you see there, it is a red nucleus, right? R for R, rubrospinal, red nucleus. Now, and it is causing the flexion of the upper limb. Now, say if the lesion is just at the level of the red nucleus. So, will it cause the flexion? No, it will cause extension then because it is not working. So, when it causes the extension, remember decerebrate. Okay, why? Because there are more of the E in that. Okay, so it will cause the decerebrate posturing or rigidity. When it comes that if it is the rubrospinal tract is intact, okay, so lesion is somewhere below. So it is the decorticate. That means if the body will go, the upper limb will go into the flexion. Okay, so that is the concept. Then coming to the posterior column, now what is the special about the posterior column is when you talk about the cervical thoracic lumbar sacral CTLS. So CTLS is something which is arranged in such a manner that the sacral will be pointing inwards and the cervical is outwards, the fibers. And if you talk about the other things, so it is like cervical CTLS like that. Okay, CTLS like that. Okay, so over here only the sacrum is inside. So whenever I am talking about certain intramedullary lesions, canal lesions, what will happen? So that will cause the, if it is growing like that. So sacral posterior one, these fibers are affected. Now, if it is like CTLS or sorry, if it is like CTLS, so that is the cervical part will be affected. Okay, so we will be talking about the lesions also in few bits and pieces because this is a basic topic. I will just be on the basics itself. Now coming to the blood supply to the spinal cord. So there are anterior spinal, posterior spinal and radicular artery. Okay, so I hope everyone should be very familiar with the circle of Willis supply. This is very important for us. Okay, then anterior spinal artery, which is arising from the vertebral artery, posterior spinal artery, which is arising from the pica or the vertebral artery. Okay, and the segmental arteries are there. So this is the radicular artery, and there are posterior radicular and anterior radicular artery. Then posterior spinal arteries, there are two posterior spinal artery and one anterior spinal artery. Okay, so you could see the blood supply. So arterial vasocorona, this is a hot topic. This is nothing but posterior spinal with anterior spinal with a radicular artery. So radicular arteries, if we talk, there are vertebral or pica. There is ascending cervical, deep cervical. There is this intercostal, lumbar, and sacral. This is very important. Radicularis magna, which is T9 to L2, which is artery of Adam levis also. This is called. And these are the something which is arising from the aorta. This is the left sided. This is unilateral. This is something which is T9 to L2, which supplies the lumbar area and it supplies the lower one third of the spinal cord. Okay. So we also have a venous drainage likewise. So if you talk about the venous drainage, there are intramedullary veins. Okay. Now this intramedullary veins drain into the extramedullary veins, which in turn drain into that of the our radicular veins. Then it will drain into intravertebral plexus, extravertebral plexus, and then into vena cava. So now these veins do not have valve and they are in direct contact with the prostate and the abdomen. So what will happen? So whatever, if there is any malignancy, they will go into that of the um, our prostate and the abdomen. right? From the prostata or the abdomen, they can go into the vertebrae. Okay, so we have the vertebral mets also, right? Then we have spinal cord. So they have been divided into CTLS, like we already have been discussing it. Okay, so there are certain like cervical vertebrae. Now, cervical vertebrae will be having this fish-like spinous process. Okay, so this is the spinous process. This is a transverse process. This is a neural foramen through which the nerve enters and exits also. And if we talk about the thoracic, it has a M type. So things now when we do a CSF, so things which are pierced during a CSF procedure. So there is a supraspinous ligament, there is an interspinous ligament, there is a ligamentum flavum. These three are the things which will be pierced by the during the CSF procedure. Okay, lumbar puncture. And anterior spinal and posterior spinal ligament is not being touched. So this is a MCQ. Okay, they will give four options out of which this will be the answer, which are not pierced. So if you are anyhow performing a MRI and you want to visualize the where the defect is, where the lesion is. So this is the C2, which will be a dome shape. So you should be recognizing that first, because through which that only you will be recognizing CTLS completely. Okay, and sacrum also you could recognize. Okay, and then we have L5. We have the lumbar L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. Okay. So I think that's all for today. And we have discussed the basic topic now. We will be going to the disease also. And you should also be reading from Harrison, and you should take your notes also. These are my notes. You can completely rely on my notes as well. But I think it would be better for every one of us. We should be having our textbook, our notes, our iPad. So I think that would be the best way to study any topic. So thank you so much for watching.